The cafeteria was always loud at Westbrook High School. Every table was full of students laughing, shouting, and talking about weekend plans. Trays slid across the counter, chairs scraped the floor, and someone in the back kept dropping soda cans on purpose. It was the usual noise, loud, messy, and full of teenage energy. But today something changed. In the middle of all that chaos, the doors of the cafeteria opened slowly. A girl stepped inside. She walked in quietly as if she was trying not to be seen, even though hundreds of eyes were already turning toward her. Her name was Leah, and this was her first day at a new school. Leah held her old backpack close to her chest. It was faded, with a torn zipper and a small hand-stitched patch on the front. Her clothes were simple, a little worn out, and her hair was tied back in a loose ponytail. She looked tired, like someone who had not slept much. But what stood out the most was the way she walked, carefully, silently, almost afraid to take up space. Students whispered the moment they saw her. "Who's she? Is she new? She looks so quiet. Where do you think she came from?" No one knew who she was. She was just a mysterious new girl with sad eyes and a nervous look. She scanned the cafeteria, searching for an empty seat, but almost every table was packed. She finally spotted a small corner table near the window and quietly walked toward it. She placed her lunch tray down gently as if she was worried it might make noise. Then she sat, kept her head low, and took a small bite of her sandwich. She didn't look around. She didn't smile. She didn't talk. She just ate in silence. But someone else had seen her too. At the center of the cafeteria sat Ryan, the boy almost everyone feared. He was tall, strong, and always surrounded by a group of boys who treated him like a leader. Ryan wasn't the type who ignored new things. He liked attention, and he especially liked picking at people who seemed weaker than him. And Leah, sitting quietly alone, looked like the perfect target. Ryan leaned back in his chair with a smirk on his face. "Hey, look at that," he said to his friends. "New girl. All alone. Looks scared already." His friends laughed. Ryan stood up slowly, stretching his arms like he was preparing for a show. He always enjoyed performing for an audience, especially when it involved making someone uncomfortable. The cafeteria was already starting to quiet down because everyone knew Ryan was about to do something. Leah didn't notice him walking toward her at first. She was focused on her sandwich, trying to eat quickly so she could escape the room full of staring faces. She didn't want trouble. She didn't want attention. She only wanted to finish lunch and survive the day. But trouble was coming her way anyway. Ryan stopped right in front of her table, blocking the light from the window. Leah looked up slowly. Her eyes widened for a second, but she didn't say anything. She simply lowered her gaze again, hoping he would go away if she ignored him. But he didn't. "So," Ryan said loudly, making sure the whole room could hear him. "This is the new girl, huh?" Leah kept her hands around her lunch tray. "Yes. I'm new," she whispered softly. Ryan laughed. "Of course you are. You look like it. Look at that old bag. Look at those clothes. Did you walk here from another century or what?" Students nearby laughed, though the laughter wasn't real, it was nervous. No one wanted to be on Ryan's bad side. Leah looked down at her hands. She didn't defend herself. She didn't talk back. She didn't even show anger. Her silence only encouraged Ryan. "Hey," he said, leaning closer. "Why so quiet? Cat got your tongue? Or are you just too shy to talk to real people?" Leah felt a painful lump in her throat. She wished she could disappear. She wished she never had to come to this school. She wished her life wasn't so full of sudden changes. But most of all, she wished her past wasn't following her everywhere. While the cafeteria watched like an audience waiting for drama, the narrator's voice would rise here. No one in that cafeteria knew what was coming next. Not Ryan. Not his friends. Not even Leah herself. But within just a few short seconds, everything would change. And the boy who mocked her would soon be the one screaming. Leah slowly picked up her sandwich again, hoping Ryan would get bored and leave her alone. But the bully had no intention of stopping. He had only just begun. Ryan circled her table like a shark. "What's wrong?" he said loudly. "Do you think you're better than us? Sitting alone like you're too good for this school?" Leah shook her head gently. "I just want to eat." Her voice was soft but steady. Ryan burst out laughing. "This is going to be fun," he said. And with that, the real story began. One that the entire school would remember for a long time. One that would soon flip everything upside down. One that would leave a bully screaming on the floor. Ryan stood in front of Leah's table with a proud, cruel smile, as if he owned the whole cafeteria. He loved attention, and right now everyone was looking at him. Students peeked over their sandwiches, whispering and nudging each other. Some even took out their phones, ready to record whatever drama was about to happen. Leah kept her eyes down. She pretended to focus on her lunch, but inside her heart was beating fast. Her fingers pressed tightly around the edge of her tray. She knew Ryan wasn't going to stop. Bullies like him never stopped on their own. Ryan tapped her table with his knuckles. "Hey, new girl. I'm talking to you." Leah looked up slowly. Her eyes were soft, gentle, tired, nothing like the proud and loud energy Ryan carried. "Yes," she whispered. Ryan laughed like her simple answer was a joke. "You're not from around here, are you? You look different. What's that look called? Lost puppy style?" More laughter came from his friends behind him. They were enjoying the show. The cafeteria was growing quieter again, most of the room now watching to see what Ryan would do next. Leah swallowed hard. "No. I just want to eat. Please." Ryan raised an eyebrow, amused. "Please?" he repeated, mocking her tone. "Wow, you really are shy." He leaned closer until his face was just a few inches from hers. Leah froze. She didn't dare move. Ryan whispered loudly enough for everyone to hear. "You know, quiet people like you don't survive long here. You have to show some confidence. Or maybe you don't have any." His friends nodded and smirked. Leah didn't reply. She knew whatever she said would be twisted into another joke anyway. Ryan suddenly reached for her backpack. "What's in here? Maybe some secrets? Maybe something embarrassing?" Leah grabbed the strap quickly, pulling it close to her chest. "Don't," she said softly, but this time there was a tiny hint of firmness in her voice. Ryan noticed it. "Oh," he said loudly. "She said don't. Did you all hear that? She finally talked." His friends laughed again, but the rest of the cafeteria looked uncomfortable. Some students whispered things like, "Why is he bothering her? She didn't do anything. Why does he always pick on the quiet ones?" But no one stepped up. "Not yet." Ryan continued, feeling more confident because no one stopped him. "What's in the bag?" he said again, reaching forward once more. "Let me see. Maybe it's something weird. Maybe some old books? Maybe." Leah pulled the bag closer again, this time more quickly. "I said don't," she repeated. Ryan's smile grew wider. "Oh, so you can speak. Guess that means you're not completely useless." Leah's throat tightened. She felt tears building up, but she forced herself not to cry. She never cried in front of people, not anymore. Not after what she had lived through. She kept her face calm even though her stomach was twisting inside. Ryan grabbed her lunch tray and lifted it in the air. "You eating this?" he said. "Doesn't look very good. Is this all you could bring? A sad little sandwich?" Leah's hands trembled. "Please, give it back," she said quietly. "What? This is nothing," Ryan said, and with a sharp movement he flipped the tray over. The entire cafeteria gasped. The sandwich, apple, and juice spilled all over the floor. The crash echoed like a slap. Leah stared at the mess, not moving, not breathing for a moment. Her eyes shimmered, but she still didn't cry. She sat completely still, holding her backpack like a shield. Ryan laughed loudly. "Oops. My bad." His friends joined in, but the laughter sounded fake now, too loud, too forced. Some students looked away, ashamed of watching. Some felt angry but didn't do anything. A few started recording with their phones, whispering, "This is messed up. Poor girl. Ryan is going too far." Ryan wasn't finished. He leaned closer again, trying to make her break. "You don't talk. You don't fight. You don't even look people in the eye," he said. "You really think you'll survive here?" Leah closed her eyes for a moment. She took a slow breath, trying to calm her shaking hands. She couldn't tell him that she had survived much worse than a boy like him. She couldn't explain that she wasn't scared of him, she was scared of something else. Something from her past. Something she tried to forget every day. She didn't speak. She didn't argue. She simply said quietly, "I just want to eat my lunch." Ryan rolled his eyes. "Oh, trust me," he said. "Lunch is over." He pushed her shoulder lightly, testing her, hoping to provoke a reaction. She didn't push back. She didn't look up. But inside her chest something was changing. A quiet strength she had buried deep was rising slowly. And the cafeteria felt it too. A strange tension filled the air. Ryan didn't notice. He only smiled proudly, thinking he had full control. But he had no idea that the moment he crossed one more line, everything would turn against him. And the girl he mocked would be the reason he ended up screaming. The cafeteria floor was still messy with Leah's lunch, but no one dared to move. The room felt strangely heavy, as if the air itself was waiting for something to happen. Ryan stood proudly, thinking he had already won. He didn't realize that something in Leah's eyes had changed, something small, quiet, but powerful. Leah kept her gaze down, but her mind wasn't inside the cafeteria anymore. The spilled food, the laughter, Ryan's loud voice, it all took her back to a place she wished she could forget. A different school. A different cafeteria. A group of faces shouting at her. A girl pushing her against a wall. A teacher who walked away. Leah had lived this scene before. She remembered her mother telling her gently, "Some people are cruel because they have empty hearts. But you are brave." She remembered her father teaching her how to protect herself. Never start a fight, Leah. But never let someone hurt you if you can stop it. Those words had stayed locked inside her for years. She tried hard to forget the pain, the fear, the weakness. She never wanted to use what she had learned. She wanted a peaceful life. She thought this new school might give her that. But now, it felt like everything was repeating. As Ryan continued talking, Leah drifted deeper into her memories. She thought about why she had moved here. Why her clothes were old. Why her backpack was torn. Her family didn't have much money anymore. After her father died last year, everything changed. They moved from place to place. Leah switched schools 5 times. Every time she hoped for a new beginning, but every time someone found a way to hurt her. And now, in this cafeteria, it was happening again. Ryan had no idea what kind of story she carried. No one knew. To everyone else, she was just the new girl. But to herself, she was someone trying to survive a life full of sudden storms. Ryan snapped his fingers in front of her face. "Hey, why are you so quiet? Thinking of running home to cry?" Leah blinked and looked up. Her eyes were watery but steady. She didn't look angry. She didn't look scared. She just looked tired of everything. A group of girls at the next table watched with worried faces. One whispered, "This is so wrong. She looks like she's been through a lot." Another girl nodded. "She hasn't even talked to anyone. Why is he doing this?" But they didn't step in. No one did. Ryan leaned down so his face was close to hers. "You're a little boring, you know that?" He chuckled. Not even fighting back. Not even talking. Just sitting there like a statue. He knocked on the table twice. "Come on, say something interesting." Leah inhaled slowly. She opened her mouth. But the only words that came were, "I'm not trying to bother anyone." Ryan pretended to hold his heart. "Oh wow. She speaks again. Amazing." He looked around at the cafeteria. Everyone clapped. She said something. No one clapped. The silence began to feel uncomfortable. Even Ryan noticed it. His smile faded just slightly. He hated silence. It made him feel like he wasn't in control. He pointed at the spilled sandwich. "Pick it up." Leah looked at the mess on the floor. "That's my lunch," she said softly. "I'll clean it." Ryan shook his head. No, you're missing the point. I want to see you get on the floor and pick it up." A boy from another table finally spoke. "Dude, stop. She didn't do anything to you." Ryan turned and glared at him. "You want to say that again?" The boy quickly looked down and pretended to eat his fries. Ryan smirked and turned back to Leah. "See? No one will help you. That's how it works here." Leah looked around the cafeteria. At all the eyes watching. Some were guilty. Some were scared. Some were sad. But none were brave enough to stand with her. Just like before. Just like every school she had been to. A small tear finally escaped her eye, sliding down her cheek. She wiped it away quickly, hoping Ryan didn't see. But he saw. And he enjoyed it. "Ah," he said loudly. "Is the new girl crying? Come on, cry harder. Let's give these people a show." More students lowered their eyes. Nobody wanted to witness this anymore. It wasn't funny. It wasn't entertainment. It felt cruel. Leah placed her hands on her lap, squeezing her fingers together. In her head, she heard her father's voice again. "Remember, Leah, strength is not loud. It is not angry. Real strength is quiet, but dangerous when needed." She had tried so hard to avoid using that strength. But Ryan was pushing her closer to a line she had promised never to cross again. Her breathing softened. Her shoulders relaxed. Her eyes slowly lifted to meet Ryan's. Something in her expression changed, just a little but enough to make the cafeteria hold its breath. Ryan didn't notice. Not yet. He was too busy laughing. Too busy enjoying himself. Too busy believing she was powerless. But for the first time since she entered the school, Leah felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. The courage to defend herself. And the next moment, the moment Ryan finally made a mistake. The moment he reached out again. Everything would shift. And the scream that would fill the cafeteria soon would not be hers. Ryan was getting impatient. He wanted a reaction from Leah. Fear, anger, anything. But she stayed mostly silent, only letting a few quiet words slip out. That silence bothered him more than anything else. Bullies like Ryan needed control. They needed the attention. They needed people to break. But Leah wasn't breaking. Not in the way he expected. So Ryan decided to push harder. He stepped closer to her table, so close that Leah could smell the strong mint gum he always chewed. His shadow covered her tray and part of her lap. The cafeteria had grown completely still now. Even the noise from the kitchen in the back felt lighter, fading into the background. Ryan reached down and picked up her empty tray from the table. He tossed it into the air and caught it again like a toy. "Look at this," he said loudly, showing the tray to the students watching. "Her whole lunch is on the floor. So sad. Should we get her another one?" His friends laughed again, but the laughter was weak, forced even. Some students didn't laugh at all. Some looked disgusted, others nervous. A few looked angry but kept quiet. Being brave in front of Ryan wasn't something people dared to do. Leah kept her head down, but her fingers were wrapped tightly around her backpack strap. Her knuckles were turning white from the pressure. Inside the bag was something important, something she never let anyone touch. That bag was her last connection to her father. Every time someone grabbed it, she felt panic. And Ryan noticed that panic. He stared at the backpack with new curiosity, then leaned down. "What's in there?" he asked. "Why are you holding it like your life depends on it?" Leah's breath caught in her throat. "Please, don't touch it." Ryan smirked. "Oh, so this bag is special? Even better." Before Leah could react, Ryan reached for the backpack strap. The room gasped. Leah pulled away quickly, gripping the bag against her chest like it was a piece of her heart. "I said don't," she repeated, this time louder, sharper, with a warning in her voice. Ryan ignored the warning. He grabbed her shoulder suddenly, not too hard, just enough to show dominance, and pulled her forward a little. Leah froze. A cold flash of fear shot through her body. Not because of Ryan, but because the last person who grabbed her like that had hurt her badly. A girl from across the room whispered, "He's going too far, someone do something." But no one moved. Ryan smirked again when he saw fear flicker in Leah's eyes. "There it is," he said softly. "That's what I was waiting for." He reached forward again, this time going straight for the backpack strap. "Don't touch my things," Leah said again more firmly. Ryan laughed. "You think you can tell me what to do?" He tightened his grip on the strap and yanked hard. Leah held on with both hands, but Ryan was stronger. The backpack slipped a little. The ripping sound of a loose thread breaking filled the silence of the cafeteria. Leah stood up suddenly. Ryan stepped back for a moment, surprised. She wasn't crying. She wasn't shaking. She wasn't begging. She just stood there, holding her backpack tightly, breathing slowly. Ryan tilted his head and smiled again, trying to act confident. "Look who finally stood up." He shoved her shoulder again, harder this time. Leah stumbled but didn't fall. She looked at him, really looked at him, her eyes calm, clear, almost cold. Ryan didn't like that look. "What?" he snapped. "You think you're tough now?" Leah didn't answer. She didn't have to. Her silence wasn't fear this time, it was something else. Something Ryan didn't understand. And that confused him. He grabbed the strap again and pulled, harder this time. Students jumped from their seats. A teacher at the far end of the cafeteria finally noticed the commotion and started walking toward them, but he was still too far away. Leah felt something snap inside her, not the bag but her patience. She had tried. She had swallowed the insults. She had ignored the jokes. She had accepted the spilled food. She had stayed silent. But this, touching her father's last gift, pulling it, trying to rip it away, this she could not allow. Ryan pulled the strap again, trying to yank the bag from her hands. And that was the moment everything changed. In one fast, instinctive motion, Leah grabbed Ryan's wrist. Her hand locked around it with surprising strength. Ryan's eyes widened. "What?" She squeezed just enough to make him freeze. Not hurting him, not attacking. Just stopping him. The cafeteria went silent. Completely silent. 100 eyes stared at the two of them, not understanding what was happening. Ryan tried to pull his hand back. But Leah's grip didn't let him. His eyes widened more, confusion turning into shock. Let go," he said, trying to force a laugh but failing. Leah's voice was steady. "I told you. Don't touch my things." Ryan tried to yank his arm away again, harder this time. And that's when he felt it. A sharp, sudden pain shooting up his wrist. His mouth fell open. His eyes widened in fear. For the first time since he arrived at school, Ryan couldn't move. And the scream he had been waiting to hear was about to come from him. The cafeteria froze, every sound swallowed by the weight of what had just happened. Ryan's scream echoed off the walls, sharp and panicked, bouncing across every table. Students who were halfway through a bite stopped with their spoons in the air. Some dropped their phones. Some stood without meaning to. Everyone stared. Leah still held Ryan's wrist, not tightly, just firmly, like someone keeping a door from slamming. There was no anger on her face. No panic. No fear. Only calm, steady control. Ryan's knees bent slightly from the shock. He tried to pull again, but the pain shot up his arm and he immediately stopped. "Let go," he shouted, but his voice cracked in the middle. Leah met his eyes slowly. "I warned you," she said quietly. Ryan didn't understand how someone smaller, thinner, and so quiet could hold him like he was made of paper. He looked around the cafeteria, desperate for his friends to laugh or help him, something that would make him feel strong again. But his friends were frozen too. Some stared with open mouths. Some took a step back. Some looked terrified. One whispered, "Dude, she's strong." "What is she?" Another said, "How is she doing that?" Ryan can lift almost anyone. But the truth was simple. Leah wasn't trying to show power. She was trying to defend something precious. The teacher finally reached the scene, out of breath. "What is going on here?" he demanded. Ryan pointed at Leah with his free hand. She did something. "She's hurting my wrist." The teacher looked at Leah. Leah let go of his hand. Leah nodded politely and released Ryan immediately. She didn't argue. She didn't complain. She just stepped back and held her backpack close again. As soon as Ryan pulled his wrist away, he stumbled backward, clutching his arm like someone had burned him. His face was red with embarrassment and shock. He had never looked so small before. The teacher helped him stand up straight. "Are you hurt?" Ryan hesitated. He wanted to say yes, to blame Leah, to get her in trouble. But the students were watching. Everyone had seen what really happened. Everyone had seen him pull first, push first, grab her things and yank the backpack. If he lied now, the whole school would turn against him. So he swallowed hard and muttered, "It just hurts a little." Leah stood quietly, her eyes lowered. She didn't speak. She didn't defend herself. She didn't even look proud. She just looked relieved that the backpack was safe. The teacher's eyes moved from Ryan to Leah, noticing the torn strap. "Did you grab her bag?" he asked Ryan. Ryan didn't answer. The silence spoke for him. Students whispered. "He started everything." She told him not to touch it. He pushed her and threw her lunch. She didn't attack him. She only stopped him. A girl from the back finally stood up. "It's true," she said. She didn't hurt him until he grabbed her bag again. Another boy added, "She only defended herself." He wouldn't stop. Slowly more students nodded. The teacher understood now. He sighed and rubbed his forehead. "Ryan, come with me. We're going to the principal." Ryan's face went red again. He hated being told off in front of everyone. He hated being embarrassed. He hated losing. But he followed the teacher, because he had no choice. As they walked away, students watched Ryan like they were seeing him for the first time. The powerful bully didn't look powerful now. When the teacher and Ryan disappeared through the cafeteria doors, all attention turned to Leah. She stood alone beside her messy lunch, holding her backpack like a fragile treasure. She felt everyone staring and shifted nervously. She didn't like attention. She didn't want the spotlight. She only wanted to disappear again. But this time, something different happened. A girl with curly hair walked up to her first. "Are you okay?" she asked softly. Leah nodded. "Yes, thank you." A boy joined them. "Hey, that was amazing. I mean, scary but amazing." Leah shook her head quickly. "I didn't want to hurt him." "We know," the girl said gently. "You didn't? You just protected your bag." Another student asked quietly, "Why is the bag so important?" Leah hesitated. She wasn't used to sharing things about her life. But something about their worried faces made her feel safe for the first time in months. She opened the top of her backpack and showed them something wrapped in a soft cloth. It was a small wooden carving, a beautifully carved bird. Her father's last gift. "My dad made this for me," she whispered. "It's all I have left of him. I don't let anyone touch it." The student's expression softened instantly. "Oh, I'm so sorry. That's really precious." Leah carefully tucked the carving back into the bag and zipped it shut. More students came over, each one saying something small. "I'm sorry I didn't help sooner. That was really brave. You deserve better." For the first time since arriving at the school, Leah felt something warm in her chest. She wasn't alone anymore. She wasn't invisible. She wasn't weak. She wasn't a victim. She was a girl with a story, with strength, and with courage that ran deeper than anyone had guessed. And the cafeteria that had once watched her in silence now saw her with respect. Leah took a slow breath. Maybe the school would not be like the others. Maybe this was the beginning of something new. The cafeteria slowly returned to its usual noise, but the energy in the room was different now. Students spoke in softer voices, casting glances at Leah, not with judgment but with respect. Something about the way she had stood up without shouting or fighting had changed how they saw her. Leah sat back down at her corner table. Her hands were still trembling a little, not from fear but from the emotional weight of everything that happened. She placed her backpack gently on her lap and held it close. For the first time in a very long time, she felt safe. Just then, the curly-haired girl who had spoken earlier walked over with a new lunch tray. "Here," she said with a smile. "You didn't get to eat." Leah blinked, surprised. "Oh, thank you. You didn't have to." The girl sat down next to her. "I know. But I wanted to." A few more students came closer, forming a small circle around Leah's table. They weren't crowding her. They were just showing that she wasn't alone anymore. One boy spoke up awkwardly, scratching his head. "Sorry we didn't help earlier. We should have said something sooner." Leah gave a small smile. "It's okay. I'm used to being alone." "You won't be," the girl said gently. "Not here." For a moment, Leah didn't know what to say. Warmth filled her chest and her eyes stung again, but this time from relief, not fear. She looked around at the faces surrounding her, faces that weren't laughing at her or mocking her. They were smiling, open, and genuine. She relaxed for the first time since walking into the cafeteria. Meanwhile, Ryan sat outside the principal's office with his head down. His wrist still throbbed, not badly but enough to remind him of what happened. More than the pain, it was the embarrassment that burned inside him. He had been humiliated in front of the entire school. And the worst part? He knew it was his own fault. The teacher paced in front of him, clearly frustrated. "Ryan, I've given you warnings before," the teacher said. "But today, you crossed a line." Ryan didn't respond. He didn't have excuses left. He had pushed, mocked, laughed, and ignored every sign. He looked up with red eyes, not from tears but from shame. "I didn't think she'd react like that," he muttered. "That's the problem," the teacher replied. "You didn't think. You only acted." The principal came out moments later and talked to Ryan for a long time. The punishment wasn't extreme but it was serious. Detention, counseling, and a warning that the school would not tolerate bullying anymore. Ryan walked out of the office slower than he had ever walked in his life. He wasn't angry. He wasn't even thinking about revenge. He was thinking about the look in Leah's eyes when she said, "Don't touch my things." He was thinking about how he had crossed her boundaries again and again. He was thinking about how small he had felt when she held his wrist. For the first time, Ryan felt guilty. Later that day, school ended. Leah walked out of the building quietly, her backpack safely secured on her shoulder. She took a deep breath, feeling the cold afternoon air on her face. It felt refreshing, almost healing. As she reached the gate, she heard footsteps behind her. She turned to see Ryan standing a few feet away. His usual swagger was gone. There was no smirk, no confidence, no mocking expression. He looked nervous, almost scared. Leah didn't say anything. She waited. Ryan swallowed hard. I wanted to say something," he said, looking at the ground. "Oh, I'm sorry." Leah blinked. She had never heard those words from a bully before. Ryan kept talking, stumbling over his words. "I should not have touched your stuff. I should not have thrown your lunch. I shouldn't have said all those things. I was acting stupid. I'm sorry." Leah looked at him for a long moment. She didn't feel anger anymore. Just tiredness. "It's okay," she said softly. "Just don't do it to anyone else." Ryan nodded quickly. "I won't. I swear." He turned and walked away, his shoulders lower than usual, like he was carrying a heavy weight. Leah watched him go, feeling a strange mix of emotions. She didn't forgive him completely, but she appreciated the apology. Maybe he would change. Maybe this moment would stay with him. Sometimes people needed to fall to understand their mistakes. Leah continued walking home. Students she passed smiled at her. Some said hi. Some waved. And for the first time, she didn't feel like a stranger in a new place. She felt like a part of something. When she reached a small bench near the school gate, she sat down and opened her backpack. She carefully unwrapped the wooden bird carving her father had made. The smooth lines, the delicate wings, Everything reminded her of his warmth. She whispered, "I did it, Dad. I stayed strong." A soft breeze moved through the trees as if answering her. Leah closed her eyes and smiled. The school was different. This time she wouldn't run. This time she wouldn't hide. She had found her strength. She had found her courage. And maybe, she had found a place where she could finally belong. The narrator ended the story in a warm voice. Sometimes the quietest people hold